What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. It is the 27th day of November, and here we are sitting at about $90,700. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. With that, we say happy Thanksgiving. 8 hours, 44 minutes left in this day. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. I had a funny little thought before making this video, and I do want to say, just in essence of yesterday's video, I am expecting that we don't see any excitement for Bitcoin for about the next month or two. Typically, when we see these low levels in the RSI on the daily time frame, typically when we get here or lower, or anywhere around here, we do see the price of Bitcoin consolidate and move sideways, be boring and stagnate for about a month or two. It could be the end of December or even January. Hell, it could even be February before Bitcoin actually starts to move higher. And of course, we can move higher and lower in that time, but I just mean move higher as in progressively higher, something that's above this high here at 116K or even above 110K. With that being said, I do think that we are going to move higher rather immediately. And again, I had this fun little thought before I started making today's video. If we took the last 3 days, including today, so 1, 2, 3 days, low to high, and we put that right here at the, let's say, the current price, right? Let's imagine that we close here, so then tomorrow this is where we move from. Or even let's take the low in case we go lower. We'll put it at the low there. If we can do this over the next 3 days, and 3 days, 8 hours, 43 minutes, then on a monthly time frame, this candle will leave behind a wick that is bigger than the body. We have 3 days, 9 hours left in this month. I'm not asking for the whole world. Give us the whole world if you want to. Go for it. Pump as much as you want, Bitcoin. But if we move up the same that we did, even with one red day here and one neutral day here, if we move up the same over the next 3 days and we can close there or higher, we will leave behind on the monthly time frame, we will leave behind a pretty pronounced wick. It would be interesting to see how many people are still going to say we're in a bear market with such a very bullish wick if we do pull up over the coming days. There is still the scenario, 3 days left in this month, that we could come down and close this more with a more pronounced body, thus validating the bears a little bit more with a very solid candle body. Typically, when we move down in bear markets, you do get these more solid bodies down, right? You don't get these pronounced wicks at the low. That typically means that you're at a low point, typically, but not always. Here you had one of those candles and you still went lower. It's not that it can't happen. It's just, the last time that we saw a candle, if we were to close up above 96K right here and leave behind a massive wick, the last time we saw a candle with a big wick was here. And that marked a top. The time before that was here and it marked a low. The time before that was here and it marked a low. The time before that was here and it marked a top. It's typical that this would mark a low, and it is a higher low overall. We've got high levels of fear. The market was the most fearful that it had ever been down here, man. It's out of this whole cycle, the most fearful at all. There's clear implications that we are going to move higher. And again, I just think that would be an interesting look here on the monthly time frame. Also, if we close around where we are now, maybe even up a little bit higher, right? We're at 90K, move up to 96, whatever, by the end of the month, we're going to bounce like right off this 50. We don't have to bounce right off of it. We've done it before, and that's nice, but we can bounce just above it too. Maybe we close exactly right here by the end of the month, and we set ourselves up for a bounce off the 50. On the RSI, on the stochastics, the MACD gets the false cross, all that stuff. With that being said, though, it is kind of intimidating that the MACD is red. You don't typically get false crosses. They do happen, but typically, I think that's the only false cross example that we have in Bitcoin's history. Typically, it's not like that. It's the real deal. It's like the beginning of a bear market, typically. Anyways, let's look at the short-term stuff. Okay, we'll look at the 1 hour. We'll zoom out. We're looking for signs of bullishness, signs of continuation to the upside. I wouldn't be surprised at all if in the next 3 days we did push higher, but we are in a range. Right? We look at this on the 1 hour time frame. We are in a very kind of tight-knit range here. We do have higher lows and higher highs, and I know that I kind of chopped through that low there, but maybe it is more of like a parallel range like this, and there are just some sloppy outsides and downsides like this. It's actually very common for Bitcoin, if you have a trend line like this, like a straight line, the best time to buy, right? Imagine you're drawing this straight line. The best time to buy is actually just below, right? The best time to buy here would have been below this trend line as well. But depending on how you want to do this, if you want a line of best fit, maybe something like this, we're still kind of in this upward sloping channel here, right? And we're at the top. So might we come down? Maybe we do. maybe we do come down a little bit, but I don't think that we would go too much below like $88,000. We probably don't even go below 88K. Back test prior resistance for support right down there at about 89 to 88.5K, and then move up, higher low, maybe. Maybe we don't do that at all. Maybe we just move up right now. Let's look at the indicators and just see. Let's actually, I want to look at the fibs. The only fib that's actually worth taking is this high to low. Nothing else really matters. So technically from here, without any serious kind of volatility to the downside, I would expect that we do keep moving to about 95.6K or higher. It's very common with the 382. Whenever you have your retracement, you come down, you bounce off your low. It's very common to wick just above it and then close below it. Okay, so I would expect at least that we move up to something around 96K before we see any kind of significant consolidation. That doesn't mean that we can't move down in the meantime a little bit. We're at 90K right now. Maybe we do move down to 88K and then we come back up and still do that, right? But like we had a red day here, we're still in the process of moving higher. Let's look at the 1 hour time frame. We'll zoom back out, okay? 1 hour time frame here. Looking at the volume, the volume is actually dying off, which typically your volume does die off as you're getting more mature in a consolidation phase. You had your move up, you've been consolidating here. When that volume goes away, that's typically when you look to break out one way or the other. Just like here, your volume went away, and that was right whenever you broke out to the upside. Here, you had a good bit of volume building, and then you hit your high. As the volume decayed at your lowest point there, boom, that's whenever you broke out and saw some upside. Right? It's very common as far as how that goes. The 1 hour RSI is bullish. Overall, it's very bullish. You have higher lows here, which is nice to see. You could come lower. Again, giving way to the thought that you could move a little bit lower. Nothing crazy, but just a little bit lower here. And I mean, hell, if we got 8 hours left in this day, we can move down over the next 2 or 3 hours, and then the rest of the day continue to pump. And then maybe tomorrow we go into a bullish day as well, having that bullish finish to the month. Stochastics are basically at the same area that you were the last time you found support here in this range, the last time that you found support here in this range. This was a low point here. The difference being that this low point was actually right before you bounced. This low point was at the same price, but it was like the low of the move itself initially. This low point here where you bounced, and this low point here where you bounced. So maybe we go a little bit lower. Maybe we have a little bit more to the downside, but you can see here who's in charge, right? I think the bulls are clearly in charge. You move up in a very short amount of time. It takes you so much time to just move back, and all you get is a higher low out of that. So the bears are not in control, at least on the short-term stuff. I would think that we do move higher. But again, from here, 90.8K, maybe we move down to 89.1 to 87.8K, somewhere in there. It just feels too obvious. I wouldn't be surprised. This feels super obvious, and the indicators do suggest that we go lower, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just pumped higher. Because it seems too obvious. If you're holding your breath on this, don't be surprised if we just move up. Bitcoin has been tricky throughout this range. It actually has been tricky. So it seems obvious that we would go down, and maybe that's exactly why we move up. But again, the downside that seems obvious is very minimal. Still be a higher low. 4 hour time frame. 4 hour time frame here. Rejecting the same levels in the RSI that we've rejected the last couple of times. The last couple of times that we've rejected these levels have actually been high points. So here, this is actually a signal that maybe we do go lower, contradicting the 1 hour time frame there. And we'll go over that in a second. But last time, that was here at the high. Time before that, that was here at the high, and you move lower. Stochastics are bullish. MACD is crossing above the zero, but the last time that you crossed above the zero was the high. The time before that, I guess you were at the high, but here you crossed above the zero. You did move up higher. Is this the beginning of more to come, or are we at a topping point? I would think here, typically, this means that we have more to go. We do have 36 minutes left in this 4 hour time frame. We're down about 0.5%. Could we move up in the next 36 minutes and close this candle green? Maybe. And then this RSI would actually look more bullish here. You wouldn't be pointed down. If in the next 36 minutes this candle can close green, we'd actually be pointed up. I don't know. I think it's bullish overall. Maybe we come down and then we come back up, something like that. But we're still more or less in an uptrend on the 4 hour RSI. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I don't know if these are enough to make me bearish that we do go lower, but just something to take into account there. I like the MACD, I like the stochastics, I like the RSI. Looking at the daily time frame. Daily time frame is in a bit of a downtrend itself. Lower highs, lower lows. In this kind of scenario, I would actually commonly expect that we come back to the oversold zone and bounce there. And with that, you might get a lower low in the daily closing prices. Maybe we do close below 84K. I don't expect us to go down here. Okay, I'm just talking about what you would normally expect to see in some type of scenario like this with the RSI. But just because you normally expect that doesn't mean that it has to happen here, right? My expectation at the moment is that we do continue to move higher. But if I'm wrong, even if I'm wrong, what's nice here is we could come down and close all the way down below 84K, and we would actually have a very bullish setup with the RSI. So that's really all I'm trying to say there is, even if I'm wrong, and the worst case scenario happens, we close this candle as bearish as can be with a very minimal wick to the downside. We do that over the next 3 days. We still would form bullish divergence on the daily RSI, on the stochastics, and on the MACD. A point in the favor of the thought that we don't go lower from here is the MACD. Right? We just crossed green today. And sure, sometimes false crosses do happen. Sometimes these little minor kind of insignificant crosses happen. But typically what we see is if you cross green, you stay green for quite a while. So I would think after being red for predominantly so much time, I would think that we are due for some green. This is the first day that we've crossed green. I would think that we do move up and push higher over the coming days. The stochastics agree with that. The RSI is the only one giving us a little bit of grief for that, but technically you have broken out of your downtrend here. Technically, you have broken those lower highs. You haven't broken the lower highs, but you broke this trend line. Once we get above this high, that would effectively invalidate the thought that we pull back here to find bearish or bullish divergence or anything like that. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're at 90.9K right now. I'm calling for higher prices. That's what I'm calling for. I think we'll be around 95 to 98, maybe 99K by the end of this month. So in the next 3 days, we should push higher, about $5,000 to $8,000 higher. Sorry, $4,000 to $8,000 higher. I don't know, $4,000 to $7,000 higher because we're basically at 91K now. I don't know, $4,000 to $8,000 higher. Yes, that was correct. $4,000 to $8,000 higher. And if we don't, even in this world where everything's wrong and we come down here, we're still at extreme levels of fear. We're still at very low points in the RSI where we typically do find a low. And we would have bullish divergence on every indicator that we have, the MACD, the stochastics, and the RSI. So even if we go lower, even in our worst case scenario, down here, there will be salvation, right? That's the thought. And we'd have a potential double bottom, all that stuff. One last thing I want to show you guys before we end the video here is that the weekly time frame, depending on where it closes, this week ends at the end of the month as well. It has 3 days, 9 hours left, just as the month does. Yes. The weekly RSI, if we close green this week, which I think we will, we close green, we have to close above last week's close in order to close green. So if we close above $86.8 thousand in the next 3 days and 9 hours, as long as we close above there, we're getting a very nice bounce off the oversold zone. The last time that we had a bounce like that, the last time that we saw a bounce off the oversold zone, do you guys know when that was? On the weekly RSI. That was the very ass end of our bear market. We're getting the same readings now that we had at the end of our bear market, right? We didn't have these readings in the beginning of the bear market, right? I mean, I guess we kind of bounced around the oversold zone here, but that doesn't count. I know it seems weird, but it is technical analysis, right? Like, this is a harsh rejection. That's a more powerful signal than even this would be, or this would be. Like, this rejecting directly at the line is more significant. This might be more comparable here, what we did back here. We were at the low of the bear market the last time, and then here we were at the COVID crash low. The time before that in the RSI, whenever we bounced, was right here, and that was at the bear market lows as well. We're at a very low point as defined by the readings on the RSI. We're at a significant low, a macro low in the course of Bitcoin's history. Stochastics agree, RSI agrees, the MACD agrees. It's very common to bounce right off the zero. You did it back here. It's very common to bounce off the oversold zone. You did it back here. We're looking for the stochastics to cross back into the band. We're looking for the RSI to provide a bounce here, and I think that we're going to get that. And then the more that we move up over the next 3 days, the more validating that is. So I got nothing else for you guys. I don't think I have anything that I want to say. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I will not be surprised in the least that when we're back up here, and it might be by the end of December that we're at new all-time highs. I'm thinking it'll probably be January that we see new all-time highs. I'll not be surprised in the least that we are still in a bull market. I have not, there's been zero doubts, I shouldn't say zero doubts, there's been very limited doubts, like maybe 1% to a 3% chance of me accepting that we're in a bear market. The majority of the indicators that we have suggest that we're still in a bull market. There are some indicators that I think have convinced people that we're in a bear market, and I think that when those indicators are invalidated, specifically the 50-week moving average, a lot of people focus on this. But again, we've done our comparisons to this and the stock market. We've done our comparisons to this and even last cycle. We closed 2 weeks above the 50-week here. Imagine your criteria, and it was my criteria, I'm not going to lie, but we've adjusted that because there's just too many indicators suggesting that we're at a very significant low here. There's too many indicators suggesting that we're at a significant low. There's several indicators suggesting we're at a significant low. I'm not going to disregard those and let one indicator, which clearly is not perfect, determine that we're in a bear market, right? And my question to anybody out there who thinks that the 50-week moving average does declare that we're in a bear market, what makes it do that? We close below it twice. So what happens if we close above it? If we get a week to close above it? We're probably going to close this week below it too. What if we came back up this week and closed above it? That'd be funny. What happens if we have 2 weeks or 3 weeks closing above it? What then? Does that invalidate the bear market? If not, then closing 2 weeks below does not validate the bear market right there, right? It has to be consistent. Right? And here we've had a close above, and that didn't validate that we were in a bull market. We still came back down. We've seen disrespect before, close right below it here, and then still pumped to new all-time highs. We literally closed right below the 50-week moving average here and went back higher. We've seen it happen before where we've closed below it and plummeted below it, closed for a month below, and we still had a higher low. We were still in a bull market. We had a fantastic rally, right? I'm not wooed by this. This is not enough for me to declare that we're in a bear market. And if that is your sole thing, there's a reason why it is. It's because you want to see the bear market for some reason, and you're ignoring all the other data. You're ignoring the weekly RSI, the weekly stochastics, the weekly MACD. You're ignoring the daily RSI whenever we're typically at a low point here. You're ignoring the bullish divergence on the stochastics there. You're ignoring the bounce off the 50 on the RSI on the monthly, on the stochastics 50, right? The potential false cross here on the MACD. The MACD actually might be more of a point in the favor of the bears, but depending on how we close this month, again, I wonder how many people are going to be quick to the draw to say that the bear market is no longer in effect whenever we're back at these levels here, but we'll see. I've got nothing else. Hit the like button, subscribe, take care of yourselves. We are undyingly confident that the bull market is in and that it's still alive. And again, even if we see lower lows, most people would say, oh, that's what we needed. That's confirmation. We got lower lows. We're in a bear market now. I would still say that we're not in a bear market. I don't think that we'll be in a bear market until we break serious structure, and we haven't done that yet. I mean, wouldn't it be hilarious? Wouldn't it be absolutely hilarious? We take out this low, and then right there, that's when we move up. Wouldn't that be hilarious? I think it would be perfect. I really think it would be perfect, but I don't know if we go that low. Anyways, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.